Hello, hello, hello. All right, so today we're going to be reacting to a little Ringer article, and this Ringer article is a top 25 players under 25. And honestly, I just want to see what's their rankings, what's their opinions on a lot of the young talent in the league. Because the thing about the NBA right now, it's it's becoming a young man's game all over again. Like the youth is taking over. The next generation is here, and they're making their presence felt. So I'm really interested to see who they have ranked where, who's ahead of who's too low, who is way too high. Because there's definitely going to be that. Because I'm not going to agree with every ranking they have on this list. That's just how it is. So I'm interested to see. Hopefully it's not horrendous like most lists are. But the thing about lists is most of them are horrendous because they want to get your attention. These publications make these lists for people to view them. So you can't just make a list everybody agrees with, because who's gonna want to read through that? Like for example, Apple Music, that top 100 albums of all time list, that list was bad. But it's bad for a reason, because that's how we're going to talk about it. They want us to pay attention. So hopefully it's not as bad as that. Like, there was some very, very bad things in that list. So let's see. So current performance, future performance, get the people going, intangibles. Okay, so it's basically this is basically their way of cop and please, like saying, listen, we were putting a lot of this in, like, especially intangibles. People only talk about intangibles when they can't really name why a player is really good. That's what I think is happening with Anthony Edwards right now. Like, he is a really good player, don't get me wrong, but people like to go at things that you can't really measure, like aura and all that type of other. So like, they already cop and please. I don't like it. All right, 25, Jabari Smith Jr. He's a player that I really like. Am I shocked to see him on this list? I don't know how to gauge this because I don't know who's ahead of him, but I think Jabari Smith Jr. is a really good player, has potential to be like a exceptional role player. I know that sounds like a dig, but I don't think he's ever going to be a guy that's your best player on your team. But if he's in your top 3, that's really good. Does he have Jaden McDaniels' jump shot? Maybe he's a little bit better. Darius Garland at 24. I've been banging on Darius Garland a lot recently because I'm a kind of a Cavs fan, and given his recent playoff performance. But is this too low? Like, is there 23? Like, I didn't know he was just 24. He's still pretty young. Yeah, that's another thing. I think, like, we like to come at Darius Garland, but he did break his jaw earlier this year, which definitely probably has some lingering effects on how he wants to play basketball. And given that he's already not the biggest guard, like, I guarantee you that's probably something in the back of his mind, maybe why he's not as aggressive as he probably should be. But 24 is interesting. Desmond Bane, I feel like at the lower parts of the list, there's not going to be much that I have a problem with. Jalen Green. Okay, Jalen Green is such an interesting player because I feel like before this season, a lot of people were out on Jalen Green, but then he had that second half of the season when I think the Rockets were going on that like 12 to 13 game winning streak when he was balling, when he looked unstoppable. I think the thing with Jalen Green always will be is just what can you do outside of scoring? When you're on, yes, but like, are you going to be a willing defender? Because he can defend when he wants to. And it's like, are you going to have any playmaking? Will you be able to play without the ball in your hands? Because the way I see this Rockets team kind of building itself out is going to be built around Sengun. And Sengun's a player that's really good with the ball in his hands. Can Jalen Green play off of him? Think about it like that, because Sengun's the better player. That's just obvious. Sengun is better than Jalen Green. So Jalen Green has to kind of figure out how to mold with him. And he played his best basketball without Sengun. So I think he's someone that you could likely see moved, just based off the fact that I don't think it'll be in the best interest of their future to have them both there. Not saying Jalen Green's a bad player, but just fit. He's still only 22, so it's like you can't write him off necessarily yet, but it's Jalen Green over Darius Garland. Like, is Jalen Green over Desmond Bane? Like, I think maybe the only reason you put Jalen Green over Desmond Bane is age, and because one has a lot of more potential, but still, that's like, I get it, but that's still interesting. Jalen Johnson. Honestly, in my opinion, if it wasn't for the games he missed, he should have won most improved player, because he literally went to a guy that was like sub 8 points. Like, see right here, 16, 9 rebounds, and almost 4 assists. And like, I think he's the guy Atlanta should just build around. I think they should really think about blowing it up. Think about it. I don't know if they should. I'm probably gonna make a video about that. Johnson will lead the Hawks in scoring next season. I could see it. Only if Trae Young's not there. Only if Trae Young's not there. Like, yeah, I agree with them when they say even if DeJounte Murray stays, but Trae Young would have to be gone for that. LaMelo's such an interesting player because when he plays, he is really good and really fun to watch, but it's only when he plays. You know, he's had them ankle issues. And the thing about LaMelo is I just you maybe raise some questions whether he could be your lead guard on a really, really good team, but I think there's no doubt that he is a real good player. And like I said right here, can he thrive in structure? This is fair for LaMelo. This is fair for LaMelo Ball. Jaren Jackson Jr., I'm surprised he's not higher. First of all, I'm surprised he's still 24. You're a defensive anchor, someone who can hit threes, shot block, extremely versatile when it comes defensively. A great pairing for him and John Morant. I'm low-key surprised he is this low. I understand that you're probably looking at future and, you know, projecting, but Jaren Jackson Jr. is one of the Franz. Okay, I feel like Franz Wagner is a bit of projecting. And maybe I'm just saying this because the last time I saw him, he wasn't that good. Like in the playoffs, he couldn't shoot. But he's a 6'9", 6'10", 6'9", 6'10" wing that has all the skills and all the tools to be really good and to be the really good complementary piece to Paolo. He just needs to be able to shoot. Like, not that if he's not knocking down his shots, he can't play, but if he's not knocking down his shots, it just makes everything harder. Unlike the way which nudges his ceiling from star role player to flat out star. Yeah, like the thing about Franz Wagner is like it could go a lot of different ways. Like you can make an argument that he may have peaked already, or that he has a long way to go and could be much better. It's just interesting play. Brandon Miller, I love this. I honestly completely agree with it. Brandon Miller proved a lot of y'all wrong this season about like talking about how they should have took Scoot. And also, I remember a lot of Hornets fans being mad, but he balled. And he's the type of guy where if I'm the Hornets, he's my franchise guy now. You know I just like said I hate intangibles, but he has the intangibles. You could see the competitive nature. You could see that him wanting to be good, like the willingness to play defense. And the fact that in his rookie year, he averaged 17 points. And like there was times, I remember there was like specific games where he would go for 30 and you go back and watch, and it's just so smooth. And I really hope that LaMelo can stay healthy with him, because his shooting ability, his catch and shoot ability, his range, paired with LaMelo's passing, a guy who can really set him up, should set him up really well for the future. Evan Mobley, tied at 15. Who is he tied with? Trae Young's 15. I don't mind this placement for Evan Mobley. Evan Mobley, I remember after his rookie year, the Tim Duncan, Kevin Garnett comparisons were going around. Now I think that was a little too much. But I think in against the Celtics, he kind of showed that he can run the center, and he can run the center very well. And to me, he kind of made it apparent for the Cavs that you can look to shopping Jared Allen, that Evan Mobley can be your center. And, you know, that's a question that I had with him, whether he's just a tall man and not a big man. But yeah, I think the one thing you kind of want from him is just to be a little bit more aggressive offensively. You know, maybe one day touch 20 points, you know, maybe get some range. But this Trae Young, I think Trae Young is one of the more overhated players in the league. First of all, he's still 25, which is crazy to me. But 15? Tied for 15. So that's basically like 15, 4. But like, no, like, Trae Young is one of the top 5 guard in this league, in my opinion. He is the offensive hub. Having Trae Young on your team means you're a top 10 offense. I know that's not saying a lot, but he does do that. He also carried the Hawks to a conference finals appearance. And and also he plays for the Atlanta Hawks. They have never set him up for success. I don't understand having him at 15. Cade Cunningham, I love Cade Cunningham. I don't think Cade Cunningham is better than Trae Young. And I know people look at both sides of the ball, but Trae Young has actually become a much better defender. And also part of the reason that Trae Young isn't a good defender is because he's small. He's very small. But yeah, I don't know why. Like 15th is crazy. But Cade Cunningham, I just hope he gets some help. over there. You know, he looks depressed half the time, and I completely understand it. I'm gonna compare everybody to Trae Young. Scottie Barnes, such an interesting dude, because one of my good friends, he's a Toronto Raptors fan, and you know, and we've always talked about Scottie Barnes, and I've made the point where I think Scottie Barnes can be your best player on a championship team, but he can't be your number one option. Because I don't think Scottie Barnes is ever going to be like the guy you go to get a shot, but he can be your best player, given that he's gonna impact the game much more than just scoring. He can play make. He's gonna be able to defend at a high level, rebound, block shots. Like, I just don't think that he can be your number one option when it comes to scoring, but I really love his versatility. And I think I'm glad that the Raptors have finally just said, all right, we're just going to build around Scottie. And also, I'm happy he had a much better year than his sophomore year, because I remember, you know, he had an amazing rookie year. Then his sophomore year, he kind of had a little bit of slump, like a little bit of a slump. And then this year, he was an all-star, you know? Like, the future's really bright for Scottie. Is Scottie better than Trae Young? If you're projecting, I get it, but right now, no. And that's what I'm going to keep comparing everything to. I'm very excited that Alperen Sengun is high on this list. Probably should have been much higher on the most improved player list. You know, who was the finalist? I feel like Alperen Sengun is going to mess around and be a guy that we see only make like a few All-Star games just because he's playing in the West, which is loaded when it comes to front court players. But Alperen Sengun is so good. I'm so happy that he got paired with a coach in Ime Udoka that's finally just letting the team kind of be his, you know, actually playing him. I forget the old coach's name for the Rockets, you know, didn't want to play him in clutch situations, didn't want to play him that much at all. But now he's playing and he averaged 21. He almost averaged a double-double with 5 assists and a block. Like, that's really good. Bold prediction, Sengun will be an MVP finalist at some point in the next 5 years. I could see that because if the Rockets, you know, keep getting better as they should, and I feel like if they're improving, if they're getting better, he is their best player. So yeah, I could definitely see that. Ja Morant 10th. Okay. One thing you should know about me is I'm a huge Ja Morant fan. Do we forget how good Ja Morant was when he was healthy? Like 10 is crazy. Isaiah Thomas convinces Matt Ishbia to send Kevin Durant to Memphis for Ja Morant to put a true playmaker between Devin Booker and Bradley Beal. Memphis will never trade Ja Morant unless he... Zion at 10 too? I gotta see who's all about. But like the Zion thing, Zion when healthy, when he's on, we've seen how good he is, and Zion hasn't really had a great team around him. What's the bold prediction? Yeah, I think that's very much Paolo. Okay, Paolo above Zion and Ja. There's nothing wrong with it because I do really love Paolo. For a second year guy, the like how good he played in that playoff series against the Cavs, it's kind of remarkable. And, you know, he's much better than I thought he was. I didn't think he would be this good, especially coming out the gate. But he is looking like a future top 10, maybe even top 5 player in this league. And the Magic got one of them ones with him. Like, they got a number one option, best player on the championship team with Paolo. I believe he can turn into that. Like, so I don't know. Jalen Williams above Paolo? Jalen Williams above Paolo? Above Ja, above Zion? Jalen Williams, I don't think right now is better than Paolo. And even if we're projecting, Paolo, I feel like will be better than Jalen Williams. I don't get that. I genuinely don't get that. I think we got to slow it down on Jalen Williams, man. I don't think he's better than people in front of him. Chet, I think the thing with Chet is, Chet has kind of gone severely underrated given how good Wemby has been. And so we haven't really discussed that Chet in his first season. I don't want to say rookie season because I don't think he should have been up for the rookie year award, but that's my problem with the rookie of the year thing, where I feel like if it's your second year in the league, just because you didn't play in your first season doesn't mean you're like it's not fair to me. It's not. But I think we kind of underrate how good Chet was. I mean, like 17, like he was 2 blocks. It's crazy. But saying that as of right now and that he projects to be better than guys like a Ja, even Apollo is, I don't know how I feel about that. Honestly, I really don't know. Tyrese Maxey. Okay, I think I'm fine with this placement by Tyrese Maxey. Maybe I have a problem with, like Ja being behind him, but he had a very underrated year. Like, the thing about the 76ers is, outside of like him and Embiid, they didn't really have anybody else who can get their own shot. So you saw when Embiid was out, it was all on Tyrese Maxey, and he was still hooping. Like, Tyrese Maxey had a really, really, really good year. And I personally think Tyrese Maxey has submitted himself as the number 2 to Joel Embiid. And I think he can be your second best player on a championship caliber team, because the thing about the Sixers, when Embiid is healthy, fully healthy, they can win a championship, and he will be the second best player, I think. And also, he's the best running mate they found for Embiid, really by accident. I don't think they planned for him to be this good. I don't think anybody sat there and said, yeah, Tyrese Maxey is going to be Joel Embiid's number 2, and that's going to be our dynamic duo. That wasn't the plan. That was never in the cards. At most, he was supposed to be a spark plug off the bench, but he's erupted into a 26 point per game scorer, and someone who I can see almost get 30. Like, in the playoffs against the Knicks, he was balling out of his mind. He won them one of those games all by himself, it felt like. And I get this doubt, what is Max without Joel Embiid? But I think that has more to do with the fact that Sixers roster was not that good if you take Joel Embiid out of there. I mean, they were playing a lot of guys that Kyle Lowry was starting next to him. Let's just put that into perspective. I love Kyle Lowry, but right now in his career, no. So I don't like the narrative that, like, what is Maxey without Joel Embiid? I feel like he's still a really, really good player. That team just needs to be better. If that team was better, I think they would have survived a lot better without Joel Embiid, given I think Maxey is really that good. So yeah, I have no problem with Maxey being this high. Maybe I don't like the people he's over. Like Tyrese Halliburton, this is fine. He is currently he has his team in the conference finals. He has been leading this team very, very well. And I know the only problems I really have for him is just, his ability to get his own shot and being aggressive. But in that game 7 against New York, he was uber aggressive. And against the Celtics game 1, a game they should have won, he was very aggressive. So I don't mind Tyrese being this high, but Tyrese in front of Ja, Tyrese in front of Trey is still pushing it, because I feel like the things like the things you pick on like Trae Young about, you could pick on Tyrese about. The defensive liability, the ability to play off ball. Ja may not be the best defender, but he's a better defender than Tyrese. And honestly, if we're projecting, they're only a year apart. I think Ja should be higher on this list than Tyrese. I think we honestly just forget how good Ja Morant is. Why is Luka Doncic 4? This doesn't make any sense. Why is Anthony? Oh my God, they about to make me. Okay, shit. Why is Ant number 2? Okay. I love Anthony Edwards. Let me get this out the way. I love Anthony Edwards. I think Anthony Edwards is a really, really good basketball player, and is looking like one of the guys who will be one of the future faces of the league. But saying he's number 2, I'm pretty sure Vic is number 1. I have no problem with Vic being number 1, but I think we low-key do have to kind of slow our roll, because above Luka Doncic, who is 25 and I'm pretty sure already has 5 first-team All-NBAs, he's probably going to end his career with a few more All-NBAs up his belt. He averaged 34, 9 rebounds, and 10 assists. Like, I think we really do underappreciate how good Luka Doncic is. Like, I think we're taking for granted the things that he's doing since he got in the league. Like, what he's been able to do with that team is kind of crazy to me. Like, this year has been the best team they ever put around him. But even before that, those teams weren't built that well around him. He just backpacked them boys, and he is still 25. Luka should be number 2. And then you have Shea, which I have a problem with Shea being above Luka, but I feel like they're the same age. Luka and Shea are the same. That doesn't make sense to me. But, like, I understand the hype and how much we adore Anthony Edwards right now. But, like, can we slow the roll a little bit? Like, calm it down just a little bit. Give him a little bit more time, because the letdown's gonna come. He's gonna let us down at one point. And right now he's on top of the world because of what they have done. But, the learning curve is going to have to come again at some point. No star has just been good. Like, progression isn't linear, you know, because I personally think it's still a debate between Anthony Edwards and Ja Morant. And honestly, right now, I would still take Ja Morant, 'cause I think a lot of Anthony Edwards is prisoner of the moment. And that makes me seem like I'm calling him bad. I'm just not putting him above Luka. I'm not putting him above Luka and that far away from Ja, when we really forget how good Ja was when he was playing, how good he was this year in limited time. Like, and Luka should not be four. This is disrespectful to Luka. I have no problem with Shai's ranking, you know, and being above Shai. While I do think Shai personally is a better player to me, I don't. That's not as that doesn't get under my skin as much. I think it's just the fact that we really, 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 really have undervalued Luka Doncic and what he has done and what he will be. Luka Doncic is going to mess around and be a top 10 player of all time. Like, the accolades Luka has is crazy. Now look at this. Rookie of the Year, 5 All-Star games, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5-time first team All-NBA. 5-time first team All-NBA. He has almost always consistently been in the MVP voting. Like, do we understand how good Luka has been and how this is disrespectful? Now, Vic being number 1 makes complete sense to me. You know, I ain't gonna argue with that. Vic was better than we thought he would be, and we thought highly of him. You know, I think Vic in a few years, I give Vic 2 years. 2 years till he's the best player in the NBA, and I think it would be clear cut in 2 years that it's his league. You know, I think maybe next year he will be vying for, you know, top 10. But in 2 years, it's gonna be Vic's league, big Vic's league. Like, his impact defensively, combined with the fact that he's only going to get better offensively. His jump shot's only going to get better. He's only going to become a better playmaker. He's only going to be just more knowledgeable of just what to do. Like, the thing is with Vic is this is the worst we've seen Victor Wembanyama, and that should scare people. If his worst being 21 points, 11 rebounds, 4 assists, and almost 4 blocks, if that is him at his worst, I don't think we're ready to see him when he's even like 75% there to being his best. That's why I think in 2 years, it's not going to be a discussion. He's already made his imprint on this league. The Spurs beating the Nuggets, I think it was like second to last game of the season, knocking them out of the 1 seed, is the reason that we're not sitting here talking about the Nuggets potentially going for another back-to-back NBA championship. You know, Vic is going to be one of those ones. Like, but this list is so interesting to me. I know I saw their you know, what they meant by it, but I still a lot of problems I see. You know, Luka, like, I think my biggest problem is Luka being 4, Ja and Zion being 10, Trae Young being tied for like 15, and Jalen Williams being top 10. Jalen Williams being ahead of Paolo. Those are things. Those are my problems. But besides, to me, it's an all right list. Those are big things. Those are like a lot of things in the top 25 players of the 25 list. Even if you're projecting, I don't understand how you would have a guy like Paolo lower than the Jalen Williams. You know, that doesn't particularly make sense to me. Like, if we're projecting, Paolo would be top 5, and then if you're going off right now, Trae Young is at 15. If you're going off right now, Ja Morant is a lot higher than he is, even Zion. And I kind of more understand Zion being at 10 on this list, mainly because you're just asking about the health. Will he be healthy? But do you remember how good Zion was when he plays, bro? Do you remember how good Ja Morant is when they play? They gonna remind us. And my bold prediction with Ja is Ja and the Grizzlies gonna put us on notice next year. They're gonna be my team to look out for. I know the season isn't even over yet. I know we're not even into the off season or the preseason where we make bold predictions. But my main bold prediction next year is the Memphis Grizzlies are gonna remind you that they're the Memphis Grizzlies, and Ja Morant is gonna make his comeback, and it's gonna be known. He's gonna submit himself as one of those ones again, because we have seen the forgotten how good Ja Morant is. But yeah, the Ringers list is interesting to say the least.